Who wants to anymore? Give her the opportunity, people, to speak to you tonight.
We're going with the DLP. That's the best for me. The COVID pressure and hurt time put together. That can't hold me down. No. Still can't get me down. Never. Because we can work together. What? And protect the elder. Yes. And uplift the young. And keep our business strong.
Strong. Yes. We making the best out of every situation. Yeah. With plenty respect for each and every vision. No promises kept, but still
Come close, because I can talk to you tonight.
For no one generation and we sing it. We voting for the DLP. That's the best for me. We going with the DLP. That's the best for me. All together now. DLP. Working together. Making we stronger. The best for my
Come close, come close. Settle, 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 settle. Good night to the good people of Taitt Hill and the people of St. George North. I know you had a good night already. I know you had a good weekend too. And I have come here tonight because, first and foremost, I need to thank the people on this platform and who were on the platform yesterday at the conference of the Barbados Labour Party. I am so proud to be leading this party with the kind of talent that we have in the Barbados Labour Party tonight. And you know, you don't take things for granted. You don't take things for granted. Because you heard from this platform Rawdon talk about the 10 years that I had in the wilderness. And in fact, last Sunday gone was 10 years when I was removed as leader, and I knew what it was to both understand defeat and victory, humiliation and pride. And they're twin imposters, as you heard me quote Kipling yesterday. But just as I knew humiliation 10 years ago, I know pride tonight, 10 years later. And I know the pride of being able to see a team mature. I know what it felt like yesterday as I watched coming up the road and heard Duguid speak about the accomplishments in housing, and heard Ian Goodenedge speak about what we are doing after a decade of no roads being fixed in this country, and the only thing that happened at the Water Authority was finding the steel in the buildings and not the water that was to go in the pipes. I know. I heard Jeffrey Bostic rise from the lieutenant colonel that he was to a general that he is, and tell you not only what he was doing about COVID, which he has handled in a way that all of us owe him a debt of gratitude, but he also spoke to you about the problems that existed before COVID and how this government is dealing with them, because we recognize that if we can't deal with the heart attacks and the diabetes and the strokes, that it will make persons more vulnerable to the same COVID. And I heard Kerry Simmons speak and Dwight Sutherland speak. Kerry is an accomplished batsman, so you know he will play on all sides of the wicket, and he's going to play again tonight after me. And Dwight, who is a first-time person in government, but who captured the imagination of the people of St. George And when you want to talk about a hometown boys record, then let us do Dwight Sutherland's record, because he is not a cricketer who went outside and come back inside. He stayed with the people of St. George South and in Ellerton and came straight up from the bowels. That is Dwight Sutherland. That is hometown representation. But there are others tonight on this platform. And you know, when I see Ryan Strawn talk, I want you to give a special hand to Ryan Strawn tonight. A speech of class. Because Ryan literally was a technocrat. And I went to Ryan and I begged him and I said, my man, I don't even know what your politics is, but I want you to join the Barbados Labour Party and come and run. Little did I know that I was taking two classmates when I picked Ryan and then picked Tony. And clearly that was a stellar class that now finds itself helping to lift weight for the people of this country, and in particular for working class people in Barbados. And all of the others you heard tonight. Dale Marshall is a general, not just an attorney general. And I want to send a message to the Democratic Labour Party. Stop wasting your breath calling for his resignation. He has my full confidence. And I say so, knowing that his mother and others will hear me speak tonight, because he is a hometown boy that has never forgotten where he's come from. But I go further. You heard all of them tonight on this platform. And Glenn, you like me must feel a sense of pride that 30 years after coming into this, that we are doing our part in managing the transition and the transformation. Somebody asked me, how was the Barbados Labour Party's conference this week? And I said it was great. They said, but beyond that, what was the thing that you most took away from this conference at St. George? I said, the young people. I have never seen so many young people. I don't know if it's COVID. I don't know if because of COVID, a lot of the traditional faces who are older kind of step back. But the young people in this conference, and Shane and all of you who are working, and Antonio, all of you who are working, I thank you for the people, not just of young people of St. George, but I also thank those in the League of Young Socialists and in the BLP chapter at the University of the West Indies. Both of them are literally rising. And today, because of that, I haven't even had a chance to speak to the General Secretary. So Jerome, forgive me. But I asked David Comijong tonight to help me lead an educational institution for the young people of this party, because they are ready. And once we give them the level of education that they need, they will move to the next level. I have every confidence of that, and the future of this country would be safe. But you also heard a man make a maiden century tonight on this platform. A maiden century. And I refer to no other than Rawdon Adams. You would not have known that he was not speaking for the first time, because he spoke like a man who was accustomed and comfortable to up here. But you know that I always tell you, pear can't fall from a breadfruit tree or an apple tree. And if you got class one way and class come down the next way, you must got class the next way down too. But those of you who listen to the Senate would have understood why I chose him as a senator of the parliamentary party. But you know tonight in St. George, a stone's throw from where he grew up, understand why he must continue to have a voice in the body politic of this country. For what you heard was a clinical prosecution of the Democratic Labour Party and the opposition forces in this country tonight. And a clinical assessment of the state of our democracy and why it is critical for the people of St. George North to act in the name of the people of Barbados when they go to the polls on the 11th of November, and to send that most important message, one, to the opposition, that go back and do your homework and get yourself ready for the people of Barbados, because you are not yet ready. You're not ready within yourselves, and you're not ready among yourselves. And I want to talk to you about it, because separate from asking and endorsing Tony in a very strong way, and you heard him, it can't be easy to become the first woman of anything in this country. Ask Billy Miller. Ask me. Ask Tony. Going where no other woman has gone before. And the barbs and the attacks, Cynthia would tell you, some nights your head will feel like it wants to blow. Because the nonsense that people will get to criticize you on that they will never say about a man. But when you heard Rawdon prosecute the opposition, I said to myself, he must know what I was coming here to talk to you about tonight. Because as we meet here in Taitt Hill, and they meet in Market Hill, I asked myself, I have come here with a sense of pride that I have an A-class cricket team playing on this platform and playing yesterday at St. George Secondary School. But what they have, I admit, is a Guinness Book World Record. Because I have never seen a cricket team with only political night watchmen. From number 1 to number 11 is pure political night watchmen. And I asked myself, how did we get in this position? You must forgive me. Because just in bringing Rawdon here, it caused me to reflect on the leaders who went before. And as you heard him say, whether BLP or DLP, Barbados always had a sense that you might not want your side to lose, but the other side would still carry everybody along. Grantley to Errol Barra. Errol Barra to Tom Adams. Tom Adams and Bree to Sandy, to Barra and Sandy again. Sandy to Owen. And even David, a little wobbly, but head and shoulders above Frundell. And from Frundell to Verla, you wonder what has happened. Well, the problem is that Frundell, you and I know, became only accustomed to speaking to dead men. That is who he drew his inspiration from. But you know it and I know it. Whether it was Aristotle and Plato when he wanted to song high and powerful, and when he wanted to come down and song indigenous and local, Winter Crawford and T.T. Lewis. Not a live human being, not even poor Hal Gollop. Only dead men. But you see, at least Verla does not speak to the dead. But the problem is that we are yet to find out who advises Verla and who she speaks to. And the only conclusion is that she is now only listening to the echo of her voice. No, it is a terrible thing, because what the country demands now from the Democratic Labour Party, it seems incapable of giving. And what she has done is to bring a set of people, none of whom are ready to really walk with her, and all of whom are there only for the record, starting tonight as she pulled from the bowels of irrelevance John Boyce, taken from his slumber. Glenn was the one tonight talking about the payments of the transport board. I don't have the sight of John Boyce's presence on a platform caused Glenn to talk about that tonight. But suffice it to say that all of a sudden, the very people that Verla did not want around her, she is now pulling to try to bring to get some relevance on the platform tonight and last week. And to what depths do they also go? You heard me speak about the poor young boy from Cottage, a St. George man, and they take him and they kick him out and throw him out. I told you, I have never seen one man move from party to party to party. That is true until I forgot Sylvan Greenwich. Because he moved from party to 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 party, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Political grasshopper. But the General Secretary of the Democratic Labour Party, and I empathize with the boy, because as you heard from Glenn, they went and they suspended him. Now, you don't take a youngster like that. The boy ran against me last time. I knew the difficulties that he experienced as a student at the University of the West Indies and having to find money to pay fees. And even though we were running against each other, I said, Kimar, hold tight. All like you will benefit from a Labour Party government. Don't hold me in your mind, because when we get in, I can pay the fees, and all like you would not have to go and look for thousands of dollars to stay in the University of the West Indies. I didn't know that we would come to his rescue again, and I mean it sincerely, because I do not believe that anybody should be carrying convictions for a spliff in this country. I really don't believe it. But where you have to question Verla's judgment is that if you knew that the boy had been charged since 2018, don't put the boy to be the butt of jokes and people kicking him out across the byways and highways of this country. Protect the youngster. And if you really feel, as I do, Kimar, you left the Labour Party, anytime you want to come back for tutorship and think, come along, oh man. Come along. I got a little soft spot in my heart for you, because I beat you bad, and I don't feel that I should have beat you so bad. But in all seriousness, instead of having a whole council suspend the boy as General Secretary, she should have called him one side. And the same way they write speeches for Floyd to read, they should have write a letter for Kimar to sign and say, do this and nobody don't talk about you. And go along slowly into the night. That is how you treat youngsters who have not yet been exposed to the ways of politics and life. That's what she should have done. But what all of this brings me to is that Errol Barrow and David Thompson must be rolling in the graves or looking down, shaking their head, wondering what has happened to the Democratic Labour Party. And in essence, that is what you heard from Rawdon tonight. That a serious political party has put the country's democracy at risk by trifling with it. And by having a set of people between, in the last decade when they were in government, who did not care enough about the country to put country first. And who, as you heard me say yesterday, were not even interested in the politics of the passbook as they used to be, but became interested in the fortunes of a few. Now, them things wrong. Them things wrong. And when you look at the Democratic Labour Party, you see not even a shadow of itself. And you have a set of people that people don't even recognize. And the desperation. I am not going to say anything about Anthony Wood because I don't know. Suffice it to say this, that I find it the most curious decision. And I would have to ask, as a member of the Democratic Labour Party, how do you invite a man on the platform of the Democratic Labour Party to come up and say that the reason he is vexed with the Barbados Labour Party and Amor Mottley is because we ain't lock up nobody from the Democratic Labour Party yet? Even my heart started to hurt for them. And I say to you tonight, Verla, go home tonight. When you finish bathing and you're saying your prayers, say a special prayer and beg for forgiveness from David Thompson and Errol Barr for mashing up the party and the legacy. Ask for forgiveness. You know that song, Sorry? You understand? By Tracy Chapman. Play the song and then repeat the words for them. Because how do you desecrate and decimate the image of a 65-year-old party and bring Woody in the bosom to give you the cuckoo punch that he don't understand why me and Mottley ain't lock up none of you yet? Well, I say sorry tonight for taking a little too long in not putting sufficient pressure on the AG, because I don't have to think like a lawyer anymore. Dale has to. And clearly Dale is playing within the crease, because Dale wants, whenever the prosecutions come, for them to stick. And the gathering of the evidence is what matters, and it's sticking. And let me say this, that I watched Keith Rowley in Trinidad. And Rowley and his Attorney General took their time. And it was 4 years or so before the prosecutions came, but they had to gather the evidence. Streets, you were a former police officer. You don't charge nobody unless you have the evidence. And if Woody wants to do all of us a favor from which he has come, hold them in a corner and get a little more evidence for Dale and bring. No, if this thing was not so serious, it would be a comedy. And as for the other parties, you pick up a front page today in the Nation. In every race I know, people is fight for the goal. Grab the goal. Go for the goal. People is settle for the silver. But these are the only parties about where I know that's fight for the bronze. Between Joe Adderley and Solutions and UPP. And Rodden is right. I don't know. You hear me say Joe Adderley all the time. I don't know what to call the party. PDDP, DP. Capital D, common D. Which one is development? Which one is democracy? It seems as though they don't know. I only have to know Joe come out one day and said debates. I don't know if it was the letter that come before Joe in C that said no debates, but all of a sudden no debates for the PDP. You heard Rawdon talk about the fact that the two senators can't even agree on what should be done, whether something should be the subject of contractionary policies or whether it should be the subject of expansionary policies through the printing of money. They cannot agree on any one day, whether it is the two senators, whether it is the leader of opposition business in the Senate and the leader of opposition business in the House. And I'm asking myself, is this a bad dream? And the only thing saving Barbados now, thank God, is that the Barbados Labour Party's team is performing at optimum levels. And that is why the other reason we need you to vote on the 11th of November is to send the signal for the vote of confidence. Not just for the ego, it's not about egos for the Labour Party, but it is about us negotiating and managing the way, not just with the people who we have to negotiate locally, because you've heard me yesterday call for a new protocol. There must be a new prices and incomes protocol in this country. We already see the adjustment to income. We now need to see the approach to prices, because without an adjustment to prices, the adjustment to incomes cannot work. Without an adjustment to rates of return on profits, you can't spread it so that more people can get work in this country, so that the money can spread further. And that is why I say the vote of confidence in the Barbados Labour Party sends a message to the international community that the people of Barbados are behind us when we speak and when we call for the restructuring of COVID debt for the Caribbean and for people who did not expect to be in COVID into long-term debt. It is because we don't want to hobble what we have to do for these youngsters here to make them the best that they can be in this country. We don't want to have to contract any road program or any water program. If it was not so serious, it would be funny. And coming up in the car just now, I put the earphones in my head and I pull up Stalin. And I pull up the song, Dorothy, Wait, Dorothy, Wait. You know the story to that song? That these women asked Stalin to write a song about how good they feel and how good they look, and the usual calypso banter. And Stalin said, it's true, but you know what? I can't write a song as long as I can't spread the cake for everybody to eat the food. I can't write a song as long as the children can't go to school and can't get a chance. Dorothy, you got to wait for these things. When these things happen, I could write fet music. Well, Rawdon tell us tonight about Soda Bix politics. And if it wasn't so funny, we would laugh at the Soda Bix politics because it's cheap entertainment. Go on YouTube and watch it and laugh. But as long as there are people not working in this country, as long as there are single mothers who can't make ends meet, as long as we have people who can't get water because they didn't do anything to upgrade the infrastructure and we got to do it now, as long as we have to create jobs for the men who used to be working and who now don't know how to feed the family, don't know how to tell the child mother that they ain't got the money for diapers, don't even know how they can buy a few packs of macaroni and some sardines, not because of anything other than the world has contracted in the middle of COVID and the people are not coming, the people are not flying as they used to. We now have some tourists coming back, but it is this compared to what it was. And even with that, Jeffrey and Lisa Cummings got to manage it tight, because we need to make sure that as we bring people in, we don't off-balance the equation. And that is why you hear me say all the time, when catch you and pass you, I am not God. I am very cognizant of the challenges that face us. And I am very cognizant of the balance that we must keep in this country. So that when I looked at what was happening, and when I looked at the fact that the most natural thing in a crisis is for people to run and protect themselves. I said, but who's standing back to help the workers? But the government alone can't carry this fight. And if we can't carry it alone, who is the next best body for me to bring to help carry the fight but Tony Moore and the labor movement? And I have come here tonight at Taitt Hill to talk with you about these things. Because you must go the length and breadth of this parish and this country and explain to people this is no ordinary by-election. This is a by-election where two messages must be sent. One to the opposition to stop the foolishness and get on with the business of rebuilding yourself so you can give the people of Barbados a decent choice. I knew Errol Barrow. I knew David Thompson. Errol Barrow, I would come home to many an evening and see him and speak with him. He helped frame my decision to go to the London School of Economics. That is a fact. And to Middle Temple. And I know what I am seeing parading as opposition politics in the Democratic Labour Party could not even get into a practice 11 at Weymouth Pasture. Far less go to Kensington Oval for a test match. Cannot. I knew David Thompson. We went to school together. He was at Commonwealth ahead of me. I was at Queen's College. And whatever else you say about him, he knew how to mobilize people. He knew how to encourage people. He knew how to bring people to him. And you know, it hurts me as a woman to see Verla being made mock sport of by those men in the Democratic Labour Party. And Verla, I say to you, don't let them do that to you. Last Sunday night here in Newbury, up the hill, George Pilgrim walking about, and this is a fact, asked them, when Verla start to talk, George Pilgrim walking about, don't leave yet, the leader on, don't leave yet, it can look bad, don't leave yet, the leader on. Verla, look who talking after me tonight. A leader don't go talk last every night. Don't let him make mock sport of you, Verla, man. Come. Talk at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. It matters not when I speak in these meetings. Because I am confident in who I am leading this party and leading this country. I've never offered myself to be the best platform speaker. I can handle myself. But in the same way that Gary Sobers is the greatest all-rounder, there may be other better batsmen than Gary or better bowlers than Gary. But he's the greatest all-rounder. And at the end of the day, you do not define yourself by those things. If you have come up here like Stalin went to write for the people, even though they have others want to take him down the line like Dorothy, Stalin said, wait, Dorothy, wait. I say to you tonight that what matters is not those cosmetic things. What matters is the substance. And this country is now facing too many challenges. They got a fella called Sabu Bess. You know him? The chief meteorological officer. I didn't know him well before this year. But he's like a little brother to me now. Because every few days, he's giving me an update on the weather. You know why? Because the greatest threat to this country is a weather system, whether in terms of floods or a hurricane. And to have that now on top of everything else that we are facing is something that concerns us. And I can't wait for December to come and the hurricane season to go behind us. The only good thing is that we took a decision as a government when restructuring our debt that if something happens in the form of a storm or a hurricane, we can put the debt one side for 2 years and spend the money on rebuilding the country. Simply put. That's what we did. But even with that, the dislocation and the disruption tonight in Jamaica, I feel for the people in Jamaica. Because even though there's no named hurricane, the heavy, heavy rains this weekend in Jamaica, one man has already lost his life in a landslide and I can't find the daughter. Can't find the daughter, the house gone. And if you know Jamaica and the hills, my uncle Elambe live up in the hills in Gordon Town. I know what it is coming down from his house and rocks dropping on the car bonnet already. And when we talk, therefore, about the weather, it would be the same thing. And those people in St. Simon's, in St. Andrew, we are going to deal with you because you are on the edge of a precipice and we understand your fear and anxiety. That is why Ian Gooden Edgell is such a gem as Minister of Public Works in this country. He is like the Energizer Bunny I told you. And that is why I feel a sense of pride. So the people of St. George North, I want you to understand, as Glenn, I'm sure you have told them, that this is no ordinary by-election. This is a by-election that will determine how this country manages its way through the greatest crisis since independence, through the greatest crisis since the last Great Depression in the 1930s. That is what the world faces. And I ask you tonight, do not let your vote be consumed by men interested in for the record appearances. Richard Seeley and Stephen Lashley are only on the platform for the record because when both go to take out Verla next August, they don't want it said that they were not around when the party had to fight a by-election. But you don't see no passion nor no interest really in them. And that is why Glenn and others have said to Floyd that you are not a bad fella, but you are letting people use you for the wrong reasons. And if the Democratic Labour Party felt that they had a chance to win this election, Floyd, you would not be the candidate. Verla herself would have run. And for these youngsters here, Errol Barrow left the left the Barbados Labour Party when he felt that he wanted to see more and he left for a reason. When the opportunity came to run in a by-election, Barrow didn't send nobody. Barrow went himself in 1958 because he did not win in the 56 election. In fact, you the people of St. George saw to that. But he went in the next available by-election in St. John. And he ran. And he won. When David Thompson felt that the politics of the Democratic Labour Party was becoming rancid, when he and Kelman sat in Parliament, two people again, Rawdon, it seemed like when two sit together, they can't get on. Not just Caswell and the other one in the Senate, Crystal, but when Thompson and Kelman, you remember that, sat in the opposition in Parliament, it was so bad that when David Thompson moved a resolution one day, I had to get up and second it because Kelman was second it for you. Carl, you remember that? And Thompson took a decision to take a leave of absence in 2001. You remember that? And that is how Clyde then emerged to lead the Democratic Labour Party. Now, it is true that they didn't give Clyde his support. And Clyde also realized ultimately what they were made of and left and came and is now happy, happy, happy like Papi. So that when you see things going wrong in a party, You don't stand by and keep your mouth shut and just deal with things for the record. That is what Richard Seeley and Stephen Lashley are doing. And I ask myself, can they really believe that the people of Barbados are so foolish and that we can't see? Even a blind man on a trotting horse can see that all that they're interested in is securing the record for next year when they take out Verla. And Verla, Dale Marshall dealt with you tonight. And this nonsense that your platform is running about who is from where. I didn't grow up in St. Michael Northeast, but it does not stop me from getting 85% of the vote last election from the people of St. Michael Northeast. Because you go and you introduce yourself to people and you work with people and people eventually become like family to you. The people of St. Michael Northeast raised me when I'm 55, and I've been in that constituency since I was 23 years old. Half my life. Errol Barr, you just heard me say, he was the MP for St. George first with Freddie Miller, Billy's father. And when he left the Labour Party and he lost in 56, he went to St. John in 58. He wasn't born in St. John. He was born in St. Lucie, Wyanville, the Platte. And you know the other thing is, really and truly, I mean, you could have the 100th anniversary of Errol Barr the whole of this year, and the most you can do is a lecture and a bus ride. But what is the fascination with the bus rides? I guess some electric buses true. And a march. That's all for Errol Barr. Friday was 10 years David Thompson died. Cynthia Ford right here. Rodden, your father died since 1985. Every single year on the anniversary of his death, Cynthia Ford and the constituency of St. Thomas and the people of Labour Party celebrate the memory and the contribution of Tom Adams. That is how people celebrate. Trevor, you are there. You are the man that's talk all the time about the elders. That is how you celebrate the elders. So when I say to you tonight, send a message. One, to the opposition. You are in St. George, but you need to remain in George Street. Go back to basics. I know what it is to have to examine self. See how I could do things differently. Reach out to people differently. Trevor and Cynthia and others know. Because they saw when I had to go through that period of self-reflection. Take time, Verla, and study them things. But the other message I want, and I say so now as your Prime Minister, and as a person who has, from tomorrow morning, the IMF team is starting its next mission again. And I know the difference it makes to reach out to the social partnership and to have Barbados speak as one. That is why we need a new incomes and prices protocol. Because for the next 18 months in this country, it cannot be a few people skinning coffins over them like wires and the rest of people groveling on the ground to try and get through. All of us must be a steady path together. Because when we're going down the road together and somebody do so and fall, we must do so and pull back and lift them and walk with them. It might not be perfect. It might not be a feast. But in the next 18 months in this country, the most important thing is to keep people's heads above water. So when I say to you, wait, people wait. They're not Dorothy here. But the Soda Bix politics, as lovely as it sounds, gonna have to wait on the side. and let us focus on getting Tony Moore to come in with us and to help lift the heavy weight and help do the things. And yes, we will do the small things and the big things. We will do the national things and the constituency things, because we can walk and we can chew. And we can make the difference because we listen to people. There are 1,284 houses in this constituency. And Tony Moore has committed herself not to drive to every shop. She'll go to them. But she has committed herself to walk and knock on every door. And that is why from her you can hear the stories, the aspirations. And in her is already developing a credible voice for the rural constituencies in this country. When she speaks now of knowledge born of rubbing shoulders. And I say to you tonight that if you give her that chance, I believe that hers is a voice that will not only define representation in Barbados, but across the Caribbean and internationally. That is why they have already chosen her and asked her to represent on so many trade union bodies in the Americas and globally. So my friends, send a message. And I want every vote to count. Every vote must count. You hear me? I ain't talking to the rest of them out there, no, I'm talking to y'all. Because I know that you are the essence of why we are fighting this battle. Your brothers and your sisters, your mothers and your fathers, your grandparents, your children that you want to grow up and have a chance in this country. Because nobody don't know where the next Gary Sober's coming from. Nobody don't know where the next Tony Moore coming from. Nobody don't know where the next Rihanna coming from. But when you nurture those little children and treat them in a way that you know that they should be treated, no, Raleigh, then they will have opportunity. And our role is to give opportunity, to protect from injustice, to protect the areas in which you live, and to make you the best that you can be in this country of yours. And for Verla and the Dems, and for the others fighting for bronze, I say to you, stand down. Go and get yourself ready. But you are not ready for this business at this time in this country. And if you are serious about allowing ideas to contend, as you heard from Rodden on this platform, then come and let us engage. Let us debate. I get it that you're not ready to debate now because you don't have nothing to say now. But by the next election, get yourself ready, because Barbados demands serious people for serious business at the most difficult time in this country's history. And as I say to you tonight, good night. I ask you to come tomorrow morning and show your support as Tony Moore goes to be nominated as the first woman who is likely to enjoy the favor of the electorate of this constituency. History will be created yet again. And because I know pride now, I want to share a little more pride with you next Sunday night. And we are going to, for the first time, put a first 11 all-women's platform on this platform next Sunday night. Yes, Nalita, it is going to be special, because I am not only bringing the batsmen in form that you see every day, but I'm bringing the maestros back. Billy Miller and Liz Thompson. I'm going to give you the informed batsmen that I have in the form of Santia Bradshaw, and the all trusted and proven Salt of the earth, Cynthia Ford. Marsha Cattle. Sandra Husbands. Sonia Brown. All. And then I'm going in for the extras. I'm bringing out people like Rashana Trim and Shanika Roberts-Odell. And Jessica standing by in case anybody wrist or ankle gets sprained. When I tell you I have a first 11 that can play and win, DeAndre Dutton, when you need people, call me. Not true? Where Carolyn? Tell them for me. And if we continue to do well and pick up momentum, I'm going to have an even bigger surprise for you after next Sunday. Good night and God bless.
COVID pressure and hard time put together, that can't hold me down. No. Still can't get me down.